So this is the second record of the capacities for the PLC Ladder Simulator 2. Okay. One of the things that we again can see in the settings menu is this one. Okay. We have a varied number of outputs and inputs. Okay. Of our concern right now is the analog outputs and the analog outputs. Okay. So by clicking on A1, you can actually see these particular words we can associate. Okay. The words can be defined as word A0 and then for a specific value of what that particular uh, equivalent decimal digits are. Okay. So in this case, I'm taking AI0, okay, and I'm placing a tag on it as a light dependent resistor value. Okay. I'm placing in OK and I'm placing in a value of 300. Okay. And then I'm saving it. Okay. So I can turn the section off for that one and I can go back to my outputs. Okay. So let me shift this one again, go to the I file, and I'm going to change the tag for this one. 0.0, we can tag it as start, okay? And 0.0, we can tag it as stop. Okay? And then we can tag I02 or I0.2 as our value for, let's say, PED, okay? D, data, okay? And this one is for PED clock. Again, if you're just checking out the number of pulses or the movement, doesn't matter too much if you use the clock or the data. But if you want to learn the direction of the shift, you need both the clock and the data present in your program. Okay, so that does it for the input. And in this case, okay, as you can see here, okay, we can have the tags present here. In this case, only PAD clock showed up. Okay. Let me just do this one again. Start. I did not press the save button, I guess. Okay. Stop. Okay. Save to PED data. Okay. Save. Let's do that again. And you can see here it has changed from I0.0 to start. Okay. The outputs can also be done the same way. Okay. Motor plus save motor leg. Notice we're not placing a value on it since we want it to be initially 0. Okay, so let's start. Let's placing the stop button. And we're not going to use the file, but we're using the tag ready. Now, one of the things that we introduced earlier was the ability of the PLC to interpret analog signals. Now, analog signals, unfortunately, can only be attributed to this one as analog I. Now, in analog I systems, okay, it's a reference number that we can put into a specific byte. So this is A word 0 and byte 0. A word 0 and byte 1. A input 0 and byte 2, and so on and so forth. Okay. Use decimal instead of hexadecimal uh, sorry, octal. Okay, so that you don't need to do the computations on your head pagdating sa numbering and count. Okay. Remember, In decimal, it's from 0 to 9. In hexadecimal, it's 0 to 9. In octal, it's 0 to 8. So, wala tayong value na in excess of 8 pagdating sa octal. Okay. So, with that, we can go back to the input. So, in this case, we need to convert a specific value of an input into an analog out. Okay. We need to interface a specific value as a specific analog output. Okay. So in this case, I'm clicking on the third one and I'm changing it from switch to analog digital to analog, and the value is reflected here. So we can set 12 volts. Again, the resolution is the number of bits. So you're looking at 2 raised to the 12 bits here. Okay. So ito yung ibig sabihin ng input na to. Okay. Now, in certain circumstances, you can actually directly take the analog input from that particular pin. Now, in the case for this one, the analog pins that are available for use, in our case, are only limited to specific two. Dalawa lang ang pwede. Okay? That is I0.0, I0.1 are not part of those. All the other items, yung above I0.1 as I0.2 and above, pwede na siyang gamitin sa analog inputs. Okay. So in this case, I prefer to use start and stop as my switches rather than an analog output. Kasi nga, these things are hardwired towards the interrupt pins natin dun sa processor mismo. Okay. So let's add in another tag. Okay. Motor negative para dalawang side ng motor for the L293D natin. Okay. So I'm adding it there. And I'm placing again the similar functions for the start and the stop inputs that we have. Tag. So ito yung dalawang natin, controllers. Now in each of the controls natin, we can assume that a control structure, mamaya introduce natin yun, can be has an output that is a relay. Okay. So let's place in relay and let's select DN, which is commonly associated with the output. Okay. That's 0 DN. And in opposition to this one is another 0 DN here. Okay. Or 0 DN din siya dito sa kabilang side. Okay. So anong purpose nito? Why do we have them opposite of each other? Para mangyari, magiging negative to, magiging positive to, in the event that RO0 becomes 1, mag-o-open to and this one closes. So magre-reverse yung condition ng motor mo from clockwise to counterclockwise. Okay? Tapos mag-a-add tayo ng isa pang RN na naman to kill off the other side. 1 naman siya and then DN. Okay, so this one is intended to kill the motor negative value that we have pagka nag-on tong relay na to. Now, to understand further yung natin, outputs natin, we can take a look at this one, okay, yung analog inputs natin. Let's place in a logical function of equal. Okay. In the logical function of equal, we have the DN output. This is usually the relay. Okay. In our case, bibihira natin ginagawa na ito yung output. Kasi for the most part, we typically associate the operation muna with a relay instead of having it done directly dun sa output natin. just to make sure that we're not creating a conflict for any of the additional rungs, yung 1 and 2 in this case, who have been placed there. Okay. So let's place it as DN, RODN. So ibig sabihin ito yun. Okay, the source file nung ini-equate natin can be 2. Let's place in the LDR first. Okay, ito yung mayroong analog value of 300. And the source file, on the other hand, we associate it with a specific word. Okay. In this case, the word is 1. Okay. So I1. It's not anymore a bit na 8 bits. Sorry. 8 bits. It's actually, sorry. 8 individual bits no longer. It's the whole set nung mismong information na nandun sa loob. Okay, mamaya explain ko yun further sa inyo para maintindihan nyo lang. Okay. So, let's place in 2 additional start and stop buttons as well. Okay. We have okay. What did I do that for? Okay, start and then stop. Okay. Add. Okay. So, we can add into this one the PED values para dun sa counter natin. Let's place in a counter up value. Okay. Let's type in 1, C1. Okay. With a preset value of 550 steps or pulses, yung preset value ng hinihingi niya. And here we can interface the value of our outputs. Okay, of our inputs pala. The inputs now belong to the tag which is our PEDs. PED dot. So I'm just interested in counting rather than doing the other stuff. And in here, I'm making sure na meron akong stop. Meron akong, okay, add yan. Start. Para all of the rungs are actually governed by the start and stop button. Okay. On the other hand, the reset item here is start. Okay, sorry. Let me revise that one. Stop dapat to. In reverse dapat siya. Okay. This one. Let's start. Okay. So, yun na siya. Okay. So, ito na ngayon yung system natin. And this one is just basically doing a counting structure. Okay. So, again, hindi mo pwedeng i-edit yung count number dito. If you want to implement it on one of these things, yung sa R1 natin, you have to use another rung and then make sure to place that one to R1.dn. Okay, add. And then place in the associated output C1BN dun sa kabilang side. Para siya yung ma-feed mo dun sa sa system. Okay. So, yun na siya. Okay. So, let's do some changes dito sa switch structure. Okay. Let's select a switch. Let's make it to push button. Okay. Or we can place it to a switch back again. Tapos, etong isang gawin natin push button. Total naman, temporary being pressed kapag emergency. Okay. Tapos, itong isa, okay, I2, bang purpose nito? Hindi ko sigurado. Wala naman tayong I2 dito. So, quite unfortunate, hindi dapat siya kasama. Okay. I think PED data yata to and PED clock tong isa. So, ito mali. Should be digital. Should be a push button switch. should be a push button switch. Para press mo lang siya, bibitawan mo na balik ulit sa 0. 1 siya pag press, 0 siya pagka nakabitaw. Okay. Okay. Save. Digital. Switch. Push button. Save. Okay. Okay. Kalimutan yung 1. Let's make it a push button as well. Okay. So, saan siya nakikita? That will appear here kapag pinilay na natin siya. Okay. So, on ko. Close. Okay. Reset yan pagka ganyan. O stop, sorry. Emergency stop pagka ganun. So, next. So, nakikita mo, motor plus dito. Okay. So, click ko lang tong isang to. So, you can see here, nag-a-add lang siya. And it's going to raise to 550. So, this has been discussed in the counter up video na naka-specify. Now, what interests us now is the ability to compute or to estimate a value. Okay. In this case, makikita nyo lang siya because this one is referenced as I1 o input 1 or input word 1. Okay. Therefore, ang mas kailangan natin, we don't need these buttons muna. Okay. We need these buttons here, yung nandito sa I natin. Now, the reference number is 300. Makikita nyo dito, pagka kiniklik ko to, I'm adding a number dun sa system. Okay? So, again, pag kino-compute natin, is very basic. 2 raised to 0, which is 1, 1 yung nag-a-add. 2 raised to 1, 2 yung mag-a-add. So, 2 plus 1 equals 3. Tapos, ito naman, 4. 3 plus 4, 7. Ito naman, 8. 8 plus 7, 15. Okay? So on and so forth. Okay? So, i-add-add lang natin siya hanggang sa makakuha tayo ng value which is approximately equal to 300. Now, take note, equal dapat yung item. Pag sumobra sa like 511, that's no good for us. Okay? Mas kailangan natin yung equal siya. Okay? So, tanggal ako na itong 2 raised to the 7th, nagtanggal ako ng 2 raised to the 6th, nagtanggal ako ng 2 raised to the 5th, na sumobra naman, nasa ilalim. Okay? So, sobra rin to. Okay? 3. So, bawas ako ng 2, hindi rin. Bawas ako ng 1, hindi rin. Okay? Yan. Okay. So, 8 sobra. Sobra yung 287. Okay. So, binabawasan ko lang siya hanggang sa umabot siya doon sa kailangan natin ng number. Yun. Okay. At this point, nakita nyo, kung nag-change siya, yung equated value niya, nung source natin, is the one being reflected as a reference dun sa LDR desired value natin. Now, ito lang yung problem ko as this time. Digital yung ginagamit ko na pins rather than yung analog pins niya. But if this were an interface papunta from an AD converter, this could likely be a analog to digital converter na 8-bit na directly interface lang natin dun sa port word I1. natin dun sa system. Okay? So nakita niya nakabaliktad na siya. In this case, dito sa kabila, pagka inakyat ko ulit siya, okay, so I'm just racking up the number of pulses dito sa ano natin. If this one meets and becomes 550 or greater than 550, we can see a difference dun sa value niya. Okay. So again, medyo madaya siya. It's not directly an interface to it, pero it can't be helped dun sa ano sa condition set natin. We have to look at it in the standpoint na ito yung limitation ng software. Okay. So, I'm just clicking this one hanggang sa umabot siya sa 550. Should have done it at 250 pulses lang. Okay. So this assumes na nag-rotate siya clockwise and the PED is sending me a value equivalent to the number of notches na iniikutan niya for the encoder itself. Could be 2 degrees, 5 degrees, depende na yan kung anong actual na degree count per each pulse natin. Could be 1 degree, kung yun yung case ng PED natin. Okay, so it's nearing 550. Medyo matagal lang siya. Okay. So at this point, counterclockwise na pala siya. Okay. Hindi siya clockwise. Yung kanina yung clockwise. Okay, yan. Malapit na. Pagdating dito sa 550, you will see that motor neg is turned off. So basically, the motor is off. Yun know. So patay na yung motor pagka ganyan yung condition set. Okay. So this shows you how to utilize the analog input section, pero it still uses a digital data of sorts. Okay. Yung I1 kasi yung ginagamit natin rather than one pin at saka a specific reference voltage value. We'll have to see kung meron tong updated version na makikita natin that we can use individual pins rather than the whole word function itself o yung word representation niya. Okay. So, stop. Okay. Okay. Again, pagka inon nyo to, it won't turn off kasi nga naka 300 pa rin itong isa. You have to change a value on it. Okay. Tapos, to reset the function, start, stop. Okay. Tsaka lang siya mag-reset. It's a lot more easier for actions like a pulse kapag push button. Pero it's a lot more easier kapag ang action mo is a toggle kapag meron kang action na gustong i-imply, which is carried by a latching switch rather than a non-latching switch as a push button, typical push button switch natin. Okay? So, I'll stop